I really do want to do my best to protect young lawyers. I really do. I think some lawyers at the top end earn much too much on legal aid. And I think the people who pay the price are young lawyers. And one of my criticisms...
Well, some said it was a mere 12. What do you say?
So, of what?
Earn too much. 12. About 10.
Right. Prime Minister earns £200,000.
Yes.
How many legal aid barristers earn more than £200,000? About 300 or 400, 400 or 500. I don't think that's good enough.
You can shave a few million there, Lord Bach. If you look at the figures, you can shave a few million. But ultimately, I mean, there's cuts in terms of scope, what legal aid will pay for. That's what's on the horizon. Unless more money goes into
I think Steve's right about scope, and I think we do have to look at some pretty uncomfortable things. And I think one of the areas which any government will look at is private family law. Not all private family law. Children's law's got to stay. But I think the legal aid pays for divorce at the moment. It pays for it pays for assets. It pays for the distribution of assets. We're the only country in Europe that doesn't have a system as far as assets on breakdown and marriage are concerned. Every other country has rules and regulations about that. There's no need for parties to go to court.
Well, why haven't you changed that? Why haven't you come to that?
It's about time we did.
Is it in your manifesto to do it?
I don't think it is.
Get it in.
It's about time we did. I make the point because it's an absurdity. Really, absolutely ridiculous. So I think in private family law, there will be changes. What you can't touch is public family law, because I think that's a serious crime.
Bring Lord Bach, but there's one proviso on that. What do you do with women experiencing violence? They've got a partner.
You don't have
Hold on a moment, because we've got a question or two from the floor, and I'm in a difficulty here because I'm informed we start at 8:30 p.m, but we will be finished by 9 a.m. I believe that means 9 a.m. That means we're running on 5 again, and we must bring in some questions to the floor. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to
hours in that case.
I want to hear from the floor.
Does Lord Bach know? Does he know how much he actually pays for divorce?
Actually pays for divorce.
How much does he pay a lawyer? How much does Lord Bach pay a lawyer for a divorce?
For a divorce petition, it's around 140 quid.
£96.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
For the entire divorce.
96
For the
quid.
entire divorce. That's legal aid.
Yeah.
That's a divorce.
What about the VAT? Is that included? VAT included?
No.
That might take it up to his 120. You need to put it right.
I think
Points
it
for
might be included.
Sir, another young legal aid lawyer.
Thank you. I'm not actually a legal aid lawyer, but I'm happy to be here tonight to celebrate their birthday. My name is Michael Norton. I'm from the University of Bristol. I set up the Innocence Network UK, and we now have 26 university innocence projects around the country, working on 78 cases of long-term prisoners maintaining innocence, which sees about 500 students and staff, with pro bono lawyers all around the country. I have to say I'm quite disappointed by tonight's discussion, primarily because when I'm thinking about justice, I'm not just thinking about money. And all we've spoken about tonight is money. And I think that the young lawyers I meet, who are working with the innocence projects all around the country, they're doing it because they believe in justice. They believe in helping people to achieve justice, innocent people who've been wrongly convicted. And this has just been about money. And you know, you may not be paid enough, but none of us are paid enough for what we do. I work 100 hours a week, that's why I look like this. But, you know, I choose to do this because I believe that this gives meaning to my life. And I think that when we're thinking about justice, we should be thinking about how is it, for example, and I've almost finished, sorry. How is it, for example, that every single week I get letters from prisoners maintaining innocence who may be innocent, who say, and they give me copies of letters that they get from lawyers that say, I have seen evidence that indicates that you may be innocent, but the evidence of your innocence was available at the time of your original trial. So I can't go against what your lawyer did at trial. So when we're thinking about justice, it's a bigger question about what lawyers do in practice and what lawyers say to people who may be innocent.
But in fairness, the discussion about money has never been young legal aid lawyers saying they're not paid. It's about whether the system is even enough. keep the thing going. That's really the thing which concerns everybody, not their own pay packet, but whether there will be a legal aid system that's worth the name. I think that's what I derive from this. But I'm very grateful for your contribution. Any other points? There's one here, one there, and then I'm going to come back to the panel. So then I sort of forced to wind up. Yeah, right. Yes, sir, in the corner. Or wherever you want to go. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, hello, James Sambach, Citizens Advice, and author of one of the essays in this book. And we argue actually that actually we can get legal aid to go further on the same budget with even less money, and the way to do that is about making much more use of the voluntary sector, because the voluntary sector has that network of volunteers to support it in the way that actually the private sector doesn't. And that the private sector can learn by doing more pro bono work and actually supporting the legal aid system through pro bono. With that network.
What was reaction to Lord Bach's observation about Europe? I mean, imagine if you actually brought in a statute which laid out exactly how a distribution of assets flows from a divorce, so that you don't need any of this stuff. Right? Your Citizens Advice Bureau deal with the whole thing. You accept that?
I accept that if there's less complexity in the law, we could, Jures could take on much more legal aid work, yeah.
Brilliant. Let's have, yes, in the turquoise scarf, and then there was you there. Yes, good luck. Yeah.
I think it's wrong in principle and very divisive to make the argument in respect to legal aid funding by pitting funding for criminal lawyers against funding for social welfare lawyers. I think it's incumbent upon us as legal aid professionals to make the case for funding for legal aid as a compelling case, which it is. It's a public service.
A human right.
It is. If you're at the receiving end, and I'm a barrister, and I do criminal law and family law, public and childcare. If you're at the receiving end of a criminal prosecution for a serious offence, or at the receiving end of care proceedings as a parent, the consequences are devastating. And I agree with Paul when he says that really it's only a handful of criminal lawyers who are in the kind of bracket that attracts so much media attention. And it sounds, on the face of it, attractive to say, well, let's move the balance of funding towards social welfare law and away from criminal lawyers. But the points have been made very, very well by Paul, that when you're dealing with clients who are receiving a prosecution, it's very serious cases. This government alone has instituted, I don't know exactly how many new acts and legislation, very, very serious legislation, counter-terrorism being just one.
Well, just about to go to jail for methadone, so method.
We have to make the argument for the progressive argument, which is that legal aid work is a public service. I think it's true.
Let me take the last point here.
Hi, Felicity Williams from the Young Legal Aid Group. Can I just first respond to the pro bono comments? Of course, pro bono representation has a hugely important role to play, and I think all of us working in the legal aid sector appreciate that. However, it is it's a service that has to be alongside a well-funded legal aid service, and it's no replacement for that. We have to absolutely blow the myth that there are a large number of fat cat legal aid lawyers out there. Amongst the Young Legal Aid Lawyers group, that there are none of us who are fat cats. I can say that absolutely fairly. I've been 4 or 5 years in practice. I earn approximately half of what I would earn as a trainee in a city firm, and I think that's true of most other people at my level of law or level of practice within criminal law. So we're not fat cats, and we were very disappointed when the restructuring proposals came out to see that fat cat lawyer fees were published alongside those proposals. It was completely unfair and wrongful representation of what's actually